Okay. Yeah, we are. My gosh, we are live.
We are live.
We are live. so, so, hi, you guys. Hi, everyone. Here today with my buddy Danial Aaron, and Daniel and I we go back to at least 20 years, and maybe I don't know into the 90s or not. I started hanging out with Paul in the 90s, so but we Daniel, I share a teacher. We had it for a number of years. We had same teacher, and then we reconnected again years later in Bali, and have been kind of, our lives have been weaving together, hey, over the years, and here we are, older men. With hopefully something to share today. For those of you that are watching this afternoon, the purpose for us to do this is to maybe share a little bit of our story, and to encourage folks that no matter how tough it gets, it's going to get tougher. That was humor. How you been, my friend?
Well, I love that question, because anytime anybody asks me that, my response is, well, I've been everything, in the last 5 minutes, in the last 5 weeks, in the last 5 years. I've been ecstatic. I've been crushed. I've been up. I've been down. I've been all kinds of things. And I'm grateful for all of that, because it's all brought me to here.
Yes. Yeah. I also, when people say, how you doing? I always think it's a trick question. I have to stop and oh, compared to what? You know, like, I think I hadn't looked at it that way. So, but when we do stop to look, I think we've both been very blessed. And even with I have a theory. Can I share this with you? I have a
Please.
theory that sometimes when life deals us some really, what we would consider in the moment tough times, I have to look back and recognize that, first of all, I kind of grow more, not in knowledge, but in awareness or in consciousness in tough times. I'm more likely to look inside or be introspective, or, to discover who I am in tough times. And so that must mean that tough times have been an answer to my prayers. Because I've always asked to be more conscious, or more, awakened, if you will, or more self-realized, and it doesn't, get dealt out. For me, it always seems to come with it, I have to get shooken up, um, Leonard Cohen in a song said, only drowning men can see us. And it was a quote from the scripture of Jesus, actually, that only drowning men can see us. And that's why he sent his disciples to be fishers of men. He said, only drowning men can see us. And so I've gone down for the third time a couple of times. And you can relate. So what are you doing in Maui? You're in Maui, aren't you?
I am on the island of Maui, gratefully so. And I have a beautiful life. I'm really blessed at the moment. Like these particular days, a lot of my focus is on finishing a new book that's coming out in the next couple weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which I'm excited about that. As you know, that's always a big project. And yeah, go ahead.
In what subject?
The title is The Art of Spiritual Leadership.
Here we are.
Indeed, yeah.
Here we are. Be here now.
Yep. And in fact, Ram Dass is featured in my book in a way, because he was an important person for me along my journey, and for all of us really in in the realms of spirituality, yoga, spiritual leadership. He's a very influential, important person.
Yeah, he did cut a pretty broad swath, and yet he would say, "Oh, that was nothing.
True.
That was nothing." uh,
Yeah.
and we should all be, so fortunate to become nothing, and in the becoming nothing affects so many people.
True.
You know, yeah. Well, good for you. So tell me the title again.
The title is The Art of Spiritual Leadership, subtitle 40 Laws to Transform Your Life and the World.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Is it going to go to print, or is it going to be predominantly online, or how are you going to read it and we can buy like, can we get it on Audible?
Yeah, well, I aim to please and to serve. So we'll have the ebook on Amazon, we'll have a printed copy, hardcover, and about 6 weeks after the initial release will come the audiobook.
Nice. Will you read?
I will, yeah, because it's like so. I love learning, and I love reading, and I love reading via audiobooks. It's just one of the most beautiful innovations of our time.
Oh, wow.
And
Yes.
in my experience is it makes such a difference when it's the author reading it with most types of things. And I so appreciate when the author invest the time to read their own work. So I feel a moral obligation in that way to do the same.
Yes. Yeah. I downloaded a book last night on Audible, and um, The Longevity Paradox by Stephen Gundry. Did you know him?
I do. I do.
Wow. It, you know, I want to say, fuck, I have got to change my diet. Like, the guy has just nailed me, you know. It, I have what he calls a wheat belly, because obviously I don't have a beer belly, and but he's an answer to prayers. He really is. I'm excited about he's got a real path to, you know to changing uh, how we look after the vessel.
Yep.
Are you still teaching yoga at all?
Not in the sense of the physical classes, asana, moving the body around stuff. Haven't been doing that for, almost 4 years now, probably. Um, I love that side of yoga, and I say not in that sense because for sure I'm still teaching the big picture of what yoga is, as are you.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I mean, yoga's become so much more, and for me, even in the last couple of years, and I recognize that I didn't realize I was a yogi, because I thought, because I didn't do the postures, I I, I didn't fit the bill.
Yeah.
And but I've heard that I must be a yogi, and so it's okay. Beautiful. So, um, is Z around?
Z, my daughter, she's around for sure. She's here on Maui at the moment. She's at her mother's house.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love those girls. And,
Yeah.
you know, I I remember Zeta, when she was like, you know, putting sand in her mouth. you know, Over in White Sand Beach, putting sand in her mouth, and they're fun. And how old is she now?
13. She'll be 14 in 2 months.
Going on 23, probably.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
A dad's dream. I work with a lot of fathers that, I work with a lot of people in the 12-step world, and fathers with daughters. Boy, it's hard, because often we get, eventually it may not have happened with you, but eventually daughters have to kind of cast us aside uh, to make room for um, whoever might be next, and it's hard on dads. We're like, oh my God, where did you go?
Mm.
What did you do with that little girl? And so, but I always encourage patience, and I have a daughter that's a mature woman with children, and they do come back. They they do come back, and especially if we've been there with them, and like you have as an amazing dad all these years, and um, you've often been the primary, and um, which is can be challenging for dads, for men and women, of course, but you've stood up to do that job, and
Mm.
traveled with her all over the world, and, East Coast. Didn't you guys spend some time were you in Maine?
We've been to Maine a little bit. You might be thinking of Martha's Vineyard. We've lived there a couple times also.
Part of the adventure. Yeah.
For sure.
So what are you
Yeah.
doing over there on a daily basis? Are you guys locked down?
Well, I don't know. I lose track a little bit of what the latest regulations and laws are. And I guess none of them are actually laws, but we still have to wear masks if we go into stores.
Yes.
But for me personally, my life doesn't seem to connect too much to that, other than it feels important to keep abreast of what's going on, or more accurately, to keep abreast of some theories about what's going on. But for me, my life and our life is still much like it was before the pandemic, in that I work like this. I work with clients virtually. As I mentioned, I've been working on this new book coming out, so that's some focus. Got a puppy, and we go out and walk on the beach a couple times a day, and out there we see people sometimes like this and sometimes without. So it reminds me that there's still something going on in the world.
It's interesting. I walk a lot as well, and how some folks are almost afraid to look at you. They're like, and they kind of scurry by, and I'm really bad because I say hello, how you doing? I talk to them, and they're and it's a bit tragic that folks are so terrified, but it's also kind of a reality, and I get my stick out and poke at them a bit.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you doing with clients? Coaching?
Yeah, coaching is a fair way of saying it, helping people to create more congruence in their life. A lot of the people I work with are what I call spiritual entrepreneurs. So people that are taking their values and their internal life and bringing that more and more into their work and business and livelihood. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've certainly pivoted, haven't we? I mean, you were already, doing this. But the rest of the world has, to see Tony Robbins doing, his whole thing online. It's like, that's a pivot. That's a huge, like, everything about him was big crowds, and he's had to bring it all to, uh, and, and, and seemed to be pulling it off, you know, and I don't know if it's paying the bills or not, but it's still, he's getting the message out there, and um, I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see him open his own platform of some sort, his own, um, like a social media, if you will, platform, and run Tony's way. It could be, but a lot of that's gone on, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, that's been I think one of the beautiful surprise silver linings of our inability to meet each other in person and gather in groups, which has been such an important thing for us over many years, is it has really shifted people into saying, okay, well, we still have this need, both the need to serve and the need to come together and uplift, like that meaning of the word satsang, gathering of people in the name of truth. So it's pushed people to innovate and do things they wouldn't do otherwise because they're used to doing it the old way. And yeah, from Tony to so many others, it's sparked them to work in ways that, and one of the benefits is it's lowered the cost. It's made it more accessible for so many people.
Totally.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been beautiful.
I do a video every day, a morning video, and it's you know David, first of all, usually with a 10-minute chat about lots of things: acceptance, love, daily practices I did today. Last week I was did a lot on suicide and shame, and so it's just whatever's going on. Really, I had lost a friend 10 days ago to suicide,
Mm.
and I had a lot of stuff wanted to come out around that. And then I do a reading from a little book that's based in the 12-step world. It's called the 24-hour day book, which has been around since the 50s. it, it,
Mm.
it's it's kind of a fun older book that's a little bit sometimes a little racist. I have to rewrite as we go, because they, of course, in the 50s they didn't know they were racist, and certainly um, male or centered, and so I do change some words to we, and but I read that every day, and I have since the 1st of May, so I haven't missed a day doing
Mm.
this video every day, and then we meditate. um, and I don't call it meditating. I call it sitting. We sit, because sometimes with a lot of the people, especially in the 12-step world, as soon as I say meditate, they're like, can't do that. You know, you know what I mean? And so I've just simplified it. We sit, and maybe a little, I use the word contemplation, watching the thoughts, I bring them in with the breath. And so it's the same. I just, you know, and sometimes I laugh and say, tricked you. We meditated.
Mm. Nice.
And but I enjoy doing that. When I started in the 1st of May, things were really shut down, and a lot of people were, and I just thought, well, I'll do something for a little while to lift people on a daily basis. And now we're like 9 months into it, and yeah, and you know, I do it live on Facebook, and then I put it on YouTube after, and it's just uh, something that I like to do. And Monday nights I have a meditation group that we meet, but just on Zoom. I used to broadcast it live, but people didn't like to be on Zoom and have it actually being shown, to the world. So it's a closed meditation group on Monday nights, and it's open to anybody, but it's closed in the sense of, yeah. And then these interviews I'm really enjoying doing. So have you got a house on the beach? Are you close to the beach?
Well, I can see it, and it's about a 4-minute drive. So it's such a blessing um, to be able to just get out and walk on the sand and get in the water. And these days, it's whale season for us here. So this it's not exactly a bay when I look out the window here, but there's a few different islands right in this area, and so there's this area, this a marine space between these islands, and the whales like to come in there and play and breach and swim around, and um,
And
it's yeah
eat.
it's
I'm sure they're eating.
I would guess there's some eating involved in their life,
They
indeed.
they
So
like eating. They're big
yeah,
eaters. And there must be
yeah.
fish in there, food in there, to be bringing them in. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. Maui sounds like a great place to have landed.
Yeah, I feel very lucky for it. And it's, it's one of those great lessons in life too, because I really didn't want to live here, didn't want to be here. I've visited here many times over the years, but then, sometimes there's a higher calling for something, and that gives a purpose to it, and that's transformed it for me.
like like your daughter, and
Yeah.
right, yeah, and Ashley. Uh, how is Ashley?
She's great. She's just some weeks away from having a new baby.
No,
It's
that's
true.
awesome. Wow,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. Well, you're going to
Yeah.
be the godfather unofficially. Even although my first wife became godmother to my son by my second wife, like officially. And,
Okay.
when they wanted to do a ceremony and yeah, that my second wife had kind of a Catholic upbringing, and they wanted to have godparents, and I thought, well, who do I know that's going to be involved in his life forever? And the mother of my first two children. So, and it became a, you know, that's my opinion, that you'll be in that. Who's there with you? Somebody. Do you have somebody in the room?
Uh, I have a dog in the room. That's
Oh,
about it.
oh, I know. I was just watching it. It looked like you were smiling at somebody with this conversation, and I imagined you had somebody there for a minute. And
No, just smiling at what you're saying.
nice. I have a story I want to tell that I have told so many times, and and I don't I don't know if it's appropriate to tell or not, but what the hell, we'll tell it. So Daniel lived in Bali, and it was in Bali for how many years? 10,
13.
13 years in Bali. And so he was an institution. For many of us that went to Bali, Daniel was always there, and I used to stop and bring you things, maybe a bottle of good scotch. Uh, but there's just one story that I've never forgotten, and I look back on it. I think it's hilarious so I'd be coming, and I'd message Daniel, I'm going to come in 6 weeks, or I'll be over there. Anything you want me to bring from the mainland, from North America, because it's hard to get some things, right? And 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 you would send me stuff. You would order me stuff, and UPS would deliver it. And this one time, you said, can you bring a little maca? and and uh, and for those who don't know, I mean, I think everybody should know maca is a beautiful, it's powder from a beautiful plant in out of Peru, and it's a root plant, and it maca does a lot of good things. Are you still taking maca? I'm sure you are, uh,
Sure, yeah.
sure you are. And I said, sure, yeah, send whatever you want. And so Daniel sent me 10 kilos of maca in in plastic bags, like nicely wrapped bricks of kilos of maca. And I thought, damn, okay. Um, I think I had to pack an extra suitcase, and there was lots of things. Remember, I used to bring like shit. It was like Christmas when David showed up with all of this stuff. So I had 10 kilos of maca, white powder in bricks in my suitcase. And so I arrived in Bali. And I also had, because I went there to do business a lot, I used to bring rupiahs with me. So I had a brick of basically 10 million, uh, 10 million, no more than 100 million rupees. So like $10,000 and 100 million rupees in a brick of cash, and all of this maca. And of course I got pulled over, customs, and I was like, damn, this does not look good. and but I mean, it really was maca. And the poor guys, the customs guys, they didn't know what to do really with me, because uh, I pulled out a business card. I showed them who I was. I told them who I knew, which was lots of people that were well known in Bali, and I was there in business. And I explained everything, but it was when you think of it, here we are going into a country in Southeast Asia carrying these 10 kilos of white powder. Do you remember that trip, or do you remember anything about that?
I do. I remember that you so kindly brought me things many times, and I had so many of those experiences of going through customs with things that looked more exciting than they really were at first glance. Put it that way, yeah.
They were really, like fascinated by these kilos of maca, and then they found the cash, and they were like, what are you doing with this? You know, and they were really concerned for my safety. And somebody might rob me, and I said, well, actually, no, nobody knows I have this. You guys do now. Anyway, so we had some adventures over there, didn't we?
Indeed, so it was a whole different life over there.
Yeah, I can't even imagine ever going back. I don't see it. I don't know
Hmm.
what's next. Of course, right now I can't even imagine leaving the continent. uh, we're not even allowed to leave the country.
Yeah, yeah, you're in Canada lockdown, hey?
Seems that way. We can leave, like I could come to Maui, but I wouldn't want to come home.
Okay.
you know they're really and I've been invited. Actually, I have a friend of mine, Paul Crisp, is over there, and he said, come on over. I've got a big house and a big extra bedroom. Come and stay. And but when I come back now, they're locking us up for X amount of days in hotels. It's not just go home and quarantine. They're 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 they've gotten really, and and they've cut some flights out. They don't want anybody to go take spring break this year, like the students and stuff. And so I understand that. No parties coming up. Right. So there's not many tourists there, is there?
Well, we were closed down for tourism for many months, which was created a really extraordinary environment here. I think one of the few times that we flash back to what life was probably like 40, 50 years ago here before, it grew and grew and grew. And it really was phenomenal. I mean, I would walk on some of the most beautiful beaches in the world that were normally filled with tourists, and sometimes I was alone there, and that was really bizarre. And to walk by these massive resorts that are essentially boarded up, um, and then just I don't know when it was, October, November last year, it opened back up and tourism came back for the holidays and has sharply declined since then, though there's still certainly tourism happening
Hmm.
for now.
Well, of course, the hard thing is that people who work in the industry are
Yeah, yeah.
are screwed.
It's Yeah,
And
it's been quite a debate, and I don't have any particular side to it myself, but I see the people that whose businesses depend on tourism. They're saying, open up, and other people that are afraid of contagion are saying, no, close it down. And it's been a tough one for the local environment because of that divided, the needs that are divided and values that are different.
so same with our friends in Indonesia as well. Like Bali's just, you know, Landoon. I talked to him the other day, and he's in the garden. He's you know that's what he's doing, is he's growing food, and like his dad did. And I mean, he'd be fine in the garden, but that's the thing. He hasn't had a client in a long time.
Hmm.
And I'm talking about a friend of ours that drove us both all over the island many, many times, probably for sure me many times, and I'll bet you as well. And
Hmm.
would bring your participants up and all that, you know.
Hmm.
So in your book, can we drop back to it just for a second? In your book, you have a book, and it's going to be published, and it's 40 tips for, what was the subtitle again? 40.
40 laws to transform your life and the world.
Wow. Can you give us a
Yeah.
few?
Well, certainly happy to. And you, part of what the book is about really is helping people to activate their own leadership potential, spiritual leadership potential. And the way that I attempt to do it in the book is by telling stories, because we all love stories. We learn well from stories. So I tell stories, and whether they're the stories of Ram Dass and his awakening, or stories from Abraham Lincoln or Oprah, or my own stories, they're all attempts to not only illustrate the principles, the laws, the axioms. They're meant to help people kind of absorb those lessons and be able to implement them in their lives. And you actually play into one of those stories, because one of the biggest lessons I had, one of the biggest challenges I had, was when I was in Bali, and I faced some persecution from the immigration department. And you were by my side for part of that. So,
You
one
were on
of
a scary adventure for sure.
it was a scary adventure. And the law that I illustrate through that story is love or fear, right? Seldom does fear result in good things. And that was an incredibly challenging lesson to learn for me. And you were really a great example to me of friendship. A friend to me, somebody who stands by you even when it's not always fun or easy. And when I was facing some real challenge there, you're like, yeah, I'm with you. I'll stand with you in the fire of that.
Hmm. Oh,
Yeah.
thanks. I remember it well, I remember when we were in the middle of it, thinking, "Fuck, I don't know if I should be here." I think they're going to blow his boat up, and I'm in it.
It certainly looked that way. Yeah.
It did look like that way, but we paddled out of there, and eventually you had to totally paddle out of there. But um, it was yeah, we really didn't know what we were facing, and but and that was the deal, I guess, is that it wouldn't have been courageous for either one of us if we knew what we were facing, and you were
Yeah.
very courageous in the whole midst of it all. um, I I've seen some other fellas in Indonesia, because the culture is quite different, cut bait and get out of there awfully quickly, without uh, trying to explore what's really going on. But you hung in there and trying to figure out how to make it work. Uh, I'm sure, and eventually it just, you know, they God bless them. We are guests there, no matter what. We're never, even after 13 years, we're not Indonesian, and they're like, all right. So, and that was something I recognized early in the deal, is that we were never going to be Balinese. And I don't know what it's like with some of the guys who marry, if they, you know, um, but I suspect that they're always going to be from away, and even their children that are part Balinese will always be the children of that fella from away. And it's not that it isn't beautiful, and or that the culture isn't beautiful, but it's not an open culture. um, and so, and of course the one of the problems they deal with too is that their overlords are in Java, and there's a lot of conflict between those two cultures, the and that folks wouldn't recognize, and you were right in the middle of it. Well, I'm glad you got out of there, and thank you for mentioning that. I'm glad that I was able to be there for you at that time. Just happened to be at the right place at the right time. I believe that uh, being of service for others, show love is an action word. Love is not uh, just a, it's an action word. It's who we are. It's what we do, and who we are. And so when opportunity shows to be of service, to show our love, that we don't have to go home and think about it. We just say yes. Let's jump in and yeah. So thanks for mentioning that. And you know, you I think have given lots and lots and lots and lots. And it's the thing about karma. Who talks about Hawkins? David Hawkins, Dr. David Hawkins talks quite a bit about karma, and um, and the a lot he does, and I don't know. It's almost like something we know about and we might as well just forget about because it's so out of our, you know, we can get stuck in this. Am I dealing with old karma or if we get measuring, then we're not in the moment. We're back in ego. We're back in separation, and so it's hard to say. Um, did I tell you that I've been spending a lot of time with Muji? I I think I did last time we talked that I've really enjoyed this guy. Just with Hawkins, he has his scale, his vibrational scale of 0 to 1,000, 1,000 being Christ consciousness, and the and my opinion, Muji is probably in the high 600s, or in the 600s anyway. He's in all of us may vibrate from time to time in the 5 and 600s, and that doesn't mean that some days I'm not in the low twos, or that that I'm not overcome with fear or guilt or shame, so um, when I was talking to a buddy the other day, and he said, well, I don't know, I've seen Muji, he seems to be in his ego. And I said, well, yeah, he's human. I didn't say he wasn't human. I just think that often he's vibrating very high. And so I've spent a lot of time. I have with him kind of in the background. He's got so many YouTube videos, and it really feels like being in Paul's when we were our teacher Paul Lowe for years. How he really did vibrate very high, and we'd be there for 2 or 3 days, and it'd be like, oh my God, we've only been here 2 or 3 days. It feels like we've been here for a month. We're all at a whole other level. I used to think it felt like we were all doing MDA, um, or mescaline or something, where everything had changed so much. And do you remember? And yes, you do. And I love it. You're very talkative.
Well, yeah, I don't know personally much about Muji, though I've heard good things from, fellow travelers like yourself. And I'm curious because I actually got a book from him recently because the guy that's editing my book also edited that book. And yeah, I've heard great things about him. And um, that's beautiful. I'm glad you're connecting in a way that's meaningful. You hear our friends there?
Yes, beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. Um, I did a video today on the back deck. It was warm enough,
Hmm.
but it was only like +3 or 4, and you know, um, in Celsius. So it was, would have been about 40, um, in American speak, and
Yeah.
but
AKA uninhabitable.
well, no, the sun was shining so hot because we get in Alberta, we get a lot of sunshine, and the sun was shining so hot that I could sit on the deck in the sun, do my video, and the birds were, the magpies, but not the beautiful exotic birds that you have over there.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
the birds are sweet. Go
back
ahead.
to Hawkins for a second. I think that, if we get the possibility to spend time in the presence of high vibration, you know, and so when I'm with Muji, I'm not listening to learn anything. Do you know what I mean? I'm just experiencing the amazing vibration of this, you know. And he, like Alan Steinfeld said, "You've become a devotee." I said, "Well, I don't know what a devotee is, but I do feel that I really enjoy his presence." But you know, I've listened to hours and hours and hours of Ram Dass as well, maybe, you know, hundreds of hours of Ram Dass and his videos. I can tell his stories. I do sometimes tell his stories.
Mm.
You know, and Alan Watts, yes, and Eckhart. You know, I even give Russell a little go once in a while. Russell Brand, you know, they're all on the social media, and I, you know, plug in to see what he's saying. And have you
Mhm.
read any Brené Brown?
Have I? Yeah, I think I've read all of her books some multiple times.
Isn't she great?
Amazing.
Yes, like I've just kind of discovered her recently, and gave me a whole new look at shame that
Hmm.
that I didn't, you know. I kind of boohooed shame. I was ashamed of shame.
Hmm.
and, and do you know what I mean? I had kind
Sure.
of said, you know, yeah, what do you mean shame? You know, and to listen to her share. I got her books, you know, and I've listened to some of her podcasts, and to listen to her share is she's beautiful. And yeah, she also, I think, you know, has uh, um, makes no bones about the fact that she's 12 step as well, and you know, and that she's gotten a lot of common sense spirituality from that program. And
Hmm.
and, uh, and you know, anyway, yeah, Brené Brown, baby, she's the one. So it's funny, we have a lot of the same teachers over the years, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, we're very lucky in the era we live in to be able to connect to such amazing teachers. It's a great blessing.
Honestly, I share that all the time. I talk almost every morning. I talk about those people we just spoke of, and I encourage people to go and spend time with, you know, Brené Brown, spend time with some of the you know, the amazing teachers that we just talked to. and
Yeah.
and uh, and it's when I say Ram Dass, you know, everybody thinks, oh, it must be some Indian guy, and you know, no, he's a Jewish boy from New York who woke up, you know, and you know, Harvard professor, and all of that. So it's kind of, he has a real interesting story about how he got to, you know, the Timothy Leary, and they just couldn't do enough acid, so he had to find the real thing, and
Yeah.
and so he did. So what have you wanted to share before we um oh, my phone died. I have a new Apple phone. My kids bought me a new Apple phone. uh it Last night I forgot to put it on the little charger, and and so it just um so I have no idea how long we've been talking. What have you,
Well, we've been talking the perfect amount of time, and I do need to go in a couple moments, though. Let's wrap it up well. What would be a good conclusion for you and your viewers?
I'd like you to share. So, you know, maybe one of the lessons that came out of the last 5 years that set you on a new foundation. You know, you're clearly on a new foundation, and you're, you know, it's, you know, and your old foundation really got shook, I think, you know, and so your roots had to go deeper, and find, you know, real ground, and bedrock. And so can you, I mean, I made all that up, but can you share, if any of that's true, what you know, what you found?
Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you. Well, just to fill in a little bit, because that might sound strange for people that don't know anything about what we're speaking. Um, I went from almost overnight living in Bali to overnight. And then I'll just say this in the kind of old way of looking at it. I went from overnight losing my job, my home, country of residence, my reputation, my income, my money, my marriage. Those are all pretty big things. And essentially overnight, it was all gone.
I forgot about
Um,
the marriage.
yeah, it was all wrapped up in it in one. And as much work as I have done over the years in personal and spiritual development, it still sucked. It
Yeah.
was really hard, and to be suddenly living with, at the time, my 11-year-old, 10-year-old daughter, and here we are in North America with a suitcase, and for her, the worst thing of all was we lost our dog overnight. She had to stay in Bali. And part of what I got from that, so many beautiful lessons came out of it. And some of the biggest ones was just how much I appreciate the opportunity to serve other people. Right. And I did have a great foundation, and I was sort of an institution over in Bali, from my center to the trainings. And then overnight, I didn't have anybody to work with or serve. And so as I rebuilt coaching programs and teaching, I had such a deepened appreciation for being able to work with people and serve. And that was one of the great blessings. And to realize how little I need in order to be okay and to thrive. That was also a really beautiful lesson that came from all of that. So yeah, it's very powerful. In Chinese medicine, there's a saying that uh, if there's a house fire and nobody's hurt, it's considered a blessing, because so often in life we don't realize how much we're attached to not only our physical stuff, but our stories and levels of identity that are connected to those things.
Yeah.
So in a way, I had the blessing of so much being burned up, and yeah, it was challenging and it hurt my ego in ways, and overall we were unscathed. And to be cut free from all of that and be able to start a new life with all of the lessons and with all the gifts of all those years and friendships and connections, really such a beautiful opportunity.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, it's interesting that our stuff can be a liability. Our attachments to identity can be a liability, and to sometimes cutting all that liability uh, from us can be painful and and,
Yeah, yeah.
and scary, and often people, myself included, can really believe we are that. Why was my business? I am that. No, you're not, David. This is something you used to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was just yesterday. So yes, I can relate. That's beautiful, and I think people are waking up to that globally. The thing that we've been attached to is this idea that we knew what was coming next, the status quo. And now we know that we don't know. We just, this has shaken everything. And what a beautiful gift to be able to live in the now without needing to know, or being aware of our need to know, at least, or wanting to know, and just let go. Okay, I don't know. You know, this is, and asking for guidance. And of universal intelligence, whatever we want to call it, God, and dropping in. So you really had to drop in and and find the path and follow the thread. and not know. It's beautiful. I've been watching, and you've done well to, more than just stay in the game. You've done well to surrender and to not knowing, and surrender to the moment. And all this is all that we've been taught for all these years. This is it. This is the, sometimes we have to be careful what we ask for. The lessons come, we're like, oh shit, I didn't mean that. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing all of that, and for trusting, having the faith, to innately knowing that everything was unfolding as it should, and now to be able to give this back in the form of your book. I look forward to you. Do you have a link yet, or anything that we can put up about the book that you can send to me?
Nothing we could put up, though. If anyone's interested, even in being part of my book launch crew, can send me an email, danial@danialaaron.com.
Well, I want to be part of your book launch crew.
Excellent. Well, and then you shall be, and I appreciate that.
And I have a reasonably big audience. I'd love to share it with my friends, and we can do it. We'll come back and tag this later, or when we get really close to the book launch, maybe we could talk again.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That would be awesome, and share that again. And so love you. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you, my friend.
And love to Ashley and Zeta.
Indeed, I shall pass it on.
Please, yeah. Tell them I was asking about them both, and that I care for them.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, my friend.
All right. Thank you, David.
Thank you.